Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're jumping into something really core to Azure, role-based access control, RBAC.
Yeah.
It's fundamental for, managing who gets to do what with your cloud stuff. Our mission today is to really unpack it, not just the security side, but how it actually helps manage things more efficiently.
Right. And it's worth remembering why it even exists. Before RBHC, honestly, Azure Access could be a bit chaotic.
The Wild West, maybe.
Pretty much, yeah. Permissions were often way too generous, like everyone gets admin. And it was inconsistent, managed manually, which, is just asking for trouble. Security risks galore.
Okay.
RBAC came along to sort that out. It lets you give out very specific permissions. It enforces that idea of least privilege, basically. People only get the keys they absolutely need to do their job, nothing more.
Which sounds much safer.
Way safer. And think about audits and compliance, too. This structured approach makes verifying who has access to what so much easier. It's not just about locking doors. It's about having a clear, auditable map of your whole security setup. It makes governance scalable.
Okay, so it brings order.
Yeah.
But what is it? Fundamentally, we hear terms like roles, scopes, assignments thrown around. How do they actually work together?
Good question. So at its core, Azure RBAC is how Azure controls access. It works by assigning roles,
Okay, roles.
which are just collections of permissions like read access or can delete VMs. Azure gives you, I think, over 70 built-in ones, things like owner, contributor, reader, common stuff. Or you can build your own if you need something super specific.
Got it. Like job titles, almost, with defined responsibilities.
Sort of, yeah. Then there's the scope.
And the scope. That's where the role applies.
Exactly right. The scope is the boundary. It could be huge, like a whole management group covering multiple subscriptions, or maybe just one subscription, or even smaller, like a single resource group, or just one specific virtual machine. You define where that role is active.
Okay, so role is what you can do. Scope is where you can do it. What connects them?
That's the assignment. The assignment is the piece that links a specific role, like contributor, to an identity, maybe a user, or better yet, a group from Azure Active Directory, or even an application at that defined scope. So you might say, assign the contributor role to the dev team group for the web app prod resource group. That means anyone in dev team can manage stuff inside that resource group, but nowhere else.
Right. Tying it all together. Who, what, where.
Precisely. It codifies it. And that directly tackles those old problems: too much power, inconsistent access. It makes things much clearer and, frankly, less risky.
Okay, that makes sense. So we get the concepts. How do people actually put this into practice effectively? What are the best practices? And maybe what are the common mistakes or anti-patterns people should watch out for?
Yeah, absolutely. A big anti-pattern, especially from the early days before RBAC was fully baked in, was just handing out owner privileges like candy. Yeah, I remember one project where a developer needed to deploy a simple web app and somehow ended up with owner on the entire subscription. We caught it, thankfully, but yeah, could have been bad. RBAC helps prevent exactly that.
So avoid being overly generous with high privilege roles.
Definitely. Best practice number one. Use the principle of least privilege, always. Then, try to assign roles at the highest sensible scope. Usually, that means a resource group level, not down on individual resources if you can help it. It just simplifies things massively.
Right.
Huge for manageability. And always, always use Azure Active Directory groups for assignments. Don't assign roles to individual users directly unless you absolutely have to. Assigning to groups makes adding or removing user access way easier down the line.
Just manage the group membership.
Exactly. And stick to the built-in roles as much as possible. They cover, probably 95% of use cases. Creating custom roles adds complexity, so only do it if a built-in one genuinely doesn't fit.
Makes sense. Keep it simple where possible. Okay, so let's just quickly recap this deep dive. Azure RBAC. It's that core system in Azure Resource Manager for authorization. It uses roles, scopes, and assignments to clearly define who can do what and where they can do it. And the real value comes from using those built-in roles, assigning permissions efficiently at, say, the resource group level, and using ADD groups to keep things manageable and secure.
Yeah, that covers the control plane nicely.
Yeah.
But here's a final thought to leave you with. It's quite important. While Azure RBAC is fantastic for managing control plane actions, things like creating a VM, deleting a storage account, modifying network settings.
Infrastructure stuff.
Right. It generally does not manage permissions inside the resources themselves. So RBAC might let you manage a SQL database, but it doesn't control who can access specific tables within that database or who can read specific files in a storage blob. That's often a separate layer.
Ah, okay. Data plane versus control plane.
Exactly. So the provocative question for you is, as you're locking down your Azure environment with RBAC, what other controls do you need to think about for that end-to-end data security? What protects the data within the resources RBAC lets you manage? Something to definitely consider.